Welcome to March's week one update for the Cash or Crash experiment. Now, the month of March is here, and it's time for me to walk you through what business I'm creating this month. Now, in case this is the first video you're seeing or you've watched everyone in this series, Cash or Crash is a year-long experiment where every single month for the year of 2026, I will be creating a new business with the goal of answering one question: did it make money? In January, we built a local Facebook marketplace reselling business. In February, I built a junk removal business from scratch. And now in March, we are building a PR agency, okay? And here's what's really, really unique about this. We're building a PR agency specifically designed for entrepreneurs. The part of this that makes this month so interesting and so exciting is we are vertically integrating this PR agency into my main business, Big Idea to Bestseller. And we'll talk a little bit about what this means, but essentially, part of why I wanted to test this was not only can we just do the PR, but we know that a lot of business owners want PR, and those same people would want to write books. We also know that a lot of our existing book clients want more PR. And so the thought was, if we know that our clients already have this as a next problem or a next thing they want, and we know that a lot of business owners want more visibility, how can we vertically integrate this into our business with the same resources, but also being able to create more revenue or have a secondary offer? And so what we're really going to try to do during this month is not only are we going to create the PR offer that we can include in what we already do, but we're also going to figure out how can we use AI, how can we use cold email to generate a bunch of outreach to see if this can bring in clients from those strategies. So it's going to teach me not only how do we actually vertically integrate something into our business, but it's also going to improve upon my AI skills as well as my cold emailing skills, both of which are phenomenal and can be used to grow businesses of all shapes and all sizes and in all industries. So let's break down what happened during this first week. Now, one of the top highlights that happened this week is the minute I announced this, a ton of my business colleagues and entrepreneurial colleagues love the idea of vertical integration and vertically integrating this into Big Idea to Bestseller. And I love that. It tells me that, oh gosh, one, people are paying attention to this, and two, that this is a really great idea because those are essentially all the same people that we potentially want to work with within this PR agency. Now, another big highlight is I spent some time doing some research and seeing the direction we want to take this thing. Now, this was enlightening because one of my core focuses in Big Idea to Bestseller, which is our book publishing company for entrepreneurs, one of my big focuses is not doing more, but doing less. And so by creating this PR agency, it has to fit with our existing strategy. And so I love this. And so one of the most easy things that we were able to do is, because I had set that parameter, I knew exactly who our initial target audience was going to be for this, because it's very similar to our more specific, more niche audience for our book publishing company. And I love that. I love that. And so we'll share some of those details at another time, but essentially I know exactly what it's going to look like in terms of who do we want to target when we start doing our outreach for this. Now let's break down some of the things I learned, the things I was thinking through, and then the hypothesis I have for this month. So first I started thinking about what's the best type of PR and what have we already seen success with? Well, we know that a lot of our clients love Times Square billboards. We know people love featured articles, and we know that people love big press releases that get them placements in big publications. So the second question I had to ask myself this month is, are we going to be in a pay-to-play space or in more of an earned media space? And ultimately for ease, I just decided that we're going to go with a pay-to-play, meaning what we're going to offer is guaranteed. It's going to be deliverable based and it's going to be guaranteed. This eliminates the concern or the worry of like, well, how much of this? What is the likely outcome? No. We're going to have very clear results. This is the type of results you're going to get. This is what you're paying for, and it's very deliverable based. This makes it easier for us to fulfill and for the customer to have very clear expectations of what exactly they're paying for. This will come with its own set of challenge, but this is how we wanted to do it, again, to focus very specifically. So we're going to have a target audience. We're going to reach out to them, and we're going to have a sequence of offers, which led me to the next thing, which is what are the different type of offers that we want to do? Do we want to do one offer and one offer only? Do we want to do 3 tiered offers so you can pick and choose what you want? Do we want to have a subscription model? Or do we want to have an a la carte option? And this was a really interesting thing for me because, again, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible to eliminate the confusion. And so what we've kind of come down to is essentially creating a 3-prong offer, a baseline, a secondary offer, and then even more of an offer, depending on how much you want and what it is that you want. So for example, if you just wanted a Times Square billboard, that would be cheaper than if you wanted a billboard, a press release, being featured in Business Insider, being featured in Yahoo, and featured articles, right? And so we're going to tier it out so that you, as the entrepreneur or whatever, who we work with, can choose exactly what it is that they want that will best serve their needs at that moment. But it's not confusing where there's like, well, I want this, I want that, I want this. And then on top of that, we will likely create the a la carte option. But the a la carte option will obviously be a lot more expensive if you're just going to do a single one-off thing. All right, we want to help somebody get the right visibility. And we also want to help people with where they're at. So this is kind of what we're looking at for the easiest way to create a simple offer. And then what we might do, this is the next question, which is like, how are we going to get people in the door? Well, as I start to look at the cost of what our hard costs will be, I can start to then say, okay, well, what is it worth for us to acquire a client? What are we willing to spend to acquire a client? And that is the level of something I can offer. So for example, nobody wants to get an email, cold email, or even on Instagram, just be like, I'm just going to book a call to talk about your PR options. That could happen. But if you're reaching out to people directly and you say, hey, I noticed you do XYZ, I want to actually give you a free article on your business. Are you interested? They might be really interested in that. Now, does that mean they're going to convert? No. But what we'll likely do is in order to claim that free article before it goes published, we need to set up a 15-minute conversation. And then that's going to enable people to talk with me and I'll be able to see if this is working or not working. And again, because it's deliverable based, the sale will be very clear. Next up is how can we segment this PR based on location? Is there a world in which we can offer very specific PR based on location, further niching us down? Let me give an example here. Can we do a featured article in a certain demographic? Can we do it for a certain niche? Can we do the billboard? If someone's in Los Angeles, do they want to go to New York to Times Square? Maybe, maybe not, right? So it's really important for me as I start to dig into all the different things we can offer, what is that going to look like? So these are some of the things that I was learning this month and trying to really articulate and figure out based on the confines of this challenge. Again, reminding you, I have up to 10 hours per week. I'll likely be spending less on this because we are busy in my main business and I'm traveling a lot this month. And I have $1,000 to spend to invest in each month's business, okay? So what's my hypothesis for this month? Well, after 1 week, my hypothesis is very simple. I'm going to try and determine, is this a viable, vertically integrated part of our business to continue after this month? That's my hypothesis to answer that question. And I believe that if this is done correctly, it will be a great upsell or downsell or standalone offer to people as they work with us in our book business. That's my hypothesis. The second part of this hypothesis is that this is going to be a way to get on people's radars who they're not yet thinking about writing a book, but they definitely do want credibility and authority. And so this is going to be a way to give them the credibility and authority. And then they're going to eventually be like, ooh, I want to write a book. And so my hypothesis is this will get a new wave of people versus who we normally service are people who've already been thinking about writing a book and then they end up writing it. This could get us into people who haven't thought about it but want PR, and then we could eventually build a great relationship and then they'd want to do that. So this is my hypothesis. We'll see how the responses go once we actually send this out. And again, my goal is to get a lot of volume on these last couple of weeks and the last 2 weeks of the challenge. And so as I look forward, The goal this week is to lay out the offer, to try to build out the baseline offer that we can start to go to market with. We're going to combine what we've already done and proven to be successful with anything new that I think I can find. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to test this with large outbound campaigns. Again, I have $1,000 to invest. We're going to test out some of these larger cold email campaigns and platforms to see if we can get a lot of messages out and to start seeing if we get replies and what is the hook that draws them in. How much time did I spend on this first week? Well, I spent about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours on this. To be honest, I was on a plane doing some of this and I forgot to track the time. But I was really locked in when I was flying home from a speaking engagement from Canada to Los Angeles. So I spent about 1.5 to 2.5 hours this week. Obviously not the 10 hours, but that's okay. This is all part of the experiment, all part of the challenge. And one big part of this challenge, beyond taking everything I've learned and writing a book about it when it's all done, is this concept of learning and figuring out how do you navigate this? Can you build a side business while you're building your main business? Is it better to only focus on one thing? Is this a hobby or a way to actually make money? There's so many fun questions that have yet to be answered through this challenge, and that's why we're doing this. All right, and so the financial update is super simple. There was 0 expenses and 0 revenue specifically to this vertically integrated PR business into my main business. Now we'll see. Hopefully this coming week, we're going to be able to start getting things dialed up. And then we're going to start spending, getting things out there. And just like every other month, we're going to find someone who's really, really great at this from my network. We're going to communicate with them. We're likely going to hire them in some capacity to help us speed up our time frame so that we can get things out faster than we normally would. All right. That's the week 1 recap for building a vertically integrated PR agency into my main business. And I'll see you on the next one. And look, if you're enjoying this challenge, let me know which month you've enjoyed so much. Let me know which month you've enjoyed the most. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts on these challenges, what you want, what you don't want, and we'll continue to keep improving and build this thing together.